to Varg's news station. Newest advances in science will be displayed here for all to see. Today's subject is gene therapy.
And now for our question session to start out the show. Question number 1. What is gene therapy?
Good question.
Gene therapy actually isn't as complicated as you think it is. Gene therapy is the use and techniques of genetic engineering to help fix a disease that affected someone or something. We actually have a video to show that explains this.
Gene therapy has the potential to save millions of lives if we can just figure out how to make it work. Hey peeps, thanks for tuning in to D-News. I'm Trey. Gene therapy sounds like a nice, easy treatment, right? It's therapy. In some ways it is, on the macro level. But in your cells, it's a little bit invasive. In gene therapy, doctors are basically hacking the DNA of a living human. Using genetically engineered retroviruses called vectors, scientists infect human cells. The retrovirus can be programmed to carry a gene or a little bit of DNA that will overwrite the messed up mutation and make it work properly. It was first tried on a young girl in 1990, and despite some early failures, it has the potential to revolutionize treatment of genetic disorders. The journal Science describes one of the recent successes that gene therapists say was really exciting. A few children were born with metachromatic leukodystrophy, which causes a defective immune system and some brain disorders, and kids who have it usually don't live past the age of 5. Bone marrow contains stem cells. The cells normally produce red blood cells, but they can be reprogrammed using gene therapy. It's a little risky, but it can work. Taking bone marrow from these kids, doctors were able to infect the cells with a retrovirus and replace the stem cell's mutated gene with a repaired gene. Then they re-injected that back into the patient, and the fixed cells multiplied, and as of the time we filmed this, the patients are all in good condition and are heading to kindergarten at the time that others with that disease can't even speak. There may be future side effects, but they seem pretty happy with the result at the moment. I mean, I would be. Science just helped some kids. Woo! It's not just useful in children. Scientists have also used gene therapy on dogs to cure them of type 1 diabetes, with 2 of their doggy patients still alive years later. The treatment involved injecting 2 things into dogs' muscles, one gene to sense glucose and an enzyme to dictate glucose absorption. Scientists don't have to target our DNA. They can also use gene therapy to target the DNA of cancer cells. It's like they gave cancer. You've seen this before if you've been following D-News. A protein called CD47 is like a passport that tells your immune system not to attack itself. Normally, cancer produces a ton of CD47. Using gene therapy on the cancer, scientists turned off that cell production and let the immune system blow it out of the sky like a decloaked Klingon bird of prey. Gene therapy is still in its infancy, but the promise of future cures for everything from cancer to genetic disorders is pretty incredible, and I, for one, cannot wait to see what this brings. What do you think of gene therapy? How do you see it being used in the future? Tell us your thoughts and keep coming back for more D-News every day.
Okay, next question.
Question number 2. In the future, will scientists be able to create a superhuman child using genetic engineering? Sent in by Haley T.
There is surprisingly a chance that this could happen.
Future.
Today we may unknowingly have the technology to generate this child. The thing is, though, do you really want to, or is it safe? That's the question that some scientists are asking themselves. And then there's the question of ethics, which leads us into our third question.
Question number 3. Why do people not want gene therapy if it's supposed to fix their body problems and diseases? Sent in by Anonymous.
When it comes to the subject of gene therapy in science, opinions clash and there tends to be many debates from different sides of the argument. Some scientists find it ethical, others find it completely immoral. Even the people who aren't in the medical field feel strongly about this.
Okay, that's our question session. Hope you enjoyed.
And now to move on with the rest of our broadcast.
Today, we have some doctors here with us.
Dr. Yakala and Dr. Strand are here today to help give us more information about how genetic therapy is today and its future.
Hello, everybody.
Since genetic therapy's invention, it has grown very much, just as the world around it has. Genetic therapy is said to have been created in the 80s and is still used as a method of treatment.
Typically, gene therapy is very expensive. It's only been used a few times since the decade. It's only been used for a few decades since the first use. It's still new technology in the medical field.
Both of us, being doctors and all, we have to understand the pros and cons of gene therapy to help our patients decide if it's the right choice for them. Many people find it unethical without understanding the full value of gene therapy, and sometimes people don't even consider using it for their mutation until it becomes a last resort.
Most in the medical field will say gene therapy has more pros than cons, but it's all a matter of opinion. We're here to present a few facts to help you understand more about the subject of gene therapy, to possibly get you to think about what side you can support. The first gene therapy has been used in 1990. It started in 1990. It was used to cure SCID. It was a cure of immunodeficiency.
In a 1996 survey, 68% of Americans approved of germline and somatic gene therapy.
The same survey, 83% physicians supported the eradicate diseases using gene therapy, and almost 3,270 patients were involved.
63% of all gene therapy trials take place in the U.S.
And 60 gene therapy trials were used to cure cancer.
21% of all type genes transferred in gene therapy clinical trials were antigens.
This just in, another question. This one actually looks pretty serious. Will genetic therapy be able to cure my sister's cancer?
Well, actually, my colleague made a video about this. Let's show it.
Feeling under the weather? Just tweak a chromosome and you'll be all done. Gene therapy. Now, I'm not talking about support groups for people who can't fit into the same pants they wore in high school. I'm talking about the alteration of genes within the body to treat disease. Cancer is the second leading cause of death in the United States, and the two main ways we treat it are with radiation and chemotherapy, both of which have severe side effects. Chemotherapy in particular can be devastating to healthy cells. So gene therapy has the promise of perhaps complementing or maybe even replacing these other therapies. Currently, there are a few different ways to use gene therapy to battle cancer. One way is just to remove the mutated genetic material and replace it with healthy material, kind of like replacing a flat tire. Another way is to insert special genes into white blood cells. Now this gives those white blood cells the chance to detect and battle tumors. It's like giving a cancer cop a strong pot of coffee and a detailed sketch of what the bad cells look like. But the third, and this is my own personal favorite, is that cells happen to have a little self-destruct button inside them. Now this button gets pressed if there's too much mutation within that cell. But in cancer cells, the button is deactivated. So with gene therapy, you go in and reactivate that button. Press the button, no more cancer cell. But this raises a question. How do we actually get that genetic material into cells in the first place? Well, do you like spy movies? Because that's what we're talking about here, double agents. In this case, a double agent is a virus. Now, normally a virus might be out there to kill you. But what scientists are doing is they're scooping the DNA out of viruses and putting a treatment gene into it, and then putting that into a patient's body. So, like a double agent, the virus works for our team now. In our spy movie, the viruses smuggle in the good genes, so when the cell replicates, the good gene is copied instead of the mutated one. Take, for example, a cancer cell. Once inside, the spy virus can deliver the gene that will halt its rampant replication. One such gene is called oligonucleotide, a single-stranded piece of DNA that inserts itself directly in the slots of the mutated cell's double helix DNA, essentially jamming up the cell's replicating gears. The mutated segment of DNA cannot be transcribed or copied once you've jammed up those gears. And in fact, scientists may one day be able to reverse this process, turning cancer cells back into healthy cells through cellular espionage. So far, gene therapy has been used to treat very simple diseases and conditions where a gene is essentially flipped on or off, and that affects everything else. Think of it like one of those strands of lights where one light is wrong and therefore the whole thing won't work. You know, kind of like these that I had back in college. Really, you just have to find the one bulb that's wrong and fix it, and it all comes on again. But some conditions are a little more complicated, and they actually involve lots of different combinations of genes that may be switched on or off, and so we have to determine what that combination is in order to use gene therapy to solve it. We're talking about over 20,000 proteins. This is a big problem, but as genetic information becomes easier for us to obtain, this raises some new questions. For example, should parents be able to determine what their child's eye color should be, or height, or sexual orientation? And if we're able to use gene therapy to cure or combat diseases and conditions, does that drastically alter our lifespan? And in turn, does that drastically alter world population? But we've got some time before these possibilities become realities, and in the meantime, I have a question for you. If you were a gene hacker, what crazy genetic mutation would you give yourself? Leave us a comment and tell us what it would be, and if you enjoyed this video, and make sure you subscribe to our channel. We have some amazing videos coming to you in the near future.
That was a great video, Dr. Yukalo.
Here's some lingo that scientists use in the field of genetic therapy. Being able to understand words like this will make genetic therapy easier to understand for scientists and citizens like you.
DNA, a molecule that encodes the genetic instructions for the development of organisms. Pharmaceutical, relating to a drug or medicine.
Therapeutic, relating to a treatment, therapy, or drug.
Mutation, a permanent change in the sequence of DNA.
Virus, a small contagious agent that replicates only inside cells of other organisms.
Now we'll have an interactive review of our show today with our audience. We might need some volunteers.
We're going to call on some people after the question's read to come up and answer the question. In a few years, gene therapy may be able to cure cancer. True or false? Tanner.
True.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, second one. Gene therapy was created in the 1600s. True or false? Cameron.
False.
Sure. Or yes, you're right.
DNA is a small contagious agent that replicates inside of the living cells of other organisms. True or false?
False.
That's correct.
Most genetic therapy clinic trials are performed in the USA. True or false?
I got you.
Avery?
True.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Gene therapy isn't a controversial subject. It almost has no one debate. True or false? Leah? False. You're right.
All right, that's our show. I hope you enjoyed.